Welcome to Startup with Poland, the show where we deep dive into Poland's startup ecosystem. My name is Tessa McIver and I am your host. Now I'm very excited about our guest today, Mateusz Maj, who is CEO of VivaDrive. Matt has a double PhD in mathematics and economics, and before founding VivaDrive, he collected a plethora of experiences at various companies, including leading financial institutions. He also lived in Belgium for a number of years. And I am so excited to find out more today about VivaDrive and Matt's journey before he founded the startup and brought him to where he is today. Matt, absolutely fantastic to have you with us here today.
That's great being with you, Tessa. Thanks for the invitation.
Well, I am dying to find out more about VivaDrive. Can you tell us more about this whole concept?
Sure. So I'm a CEO of VivaDrive. So, it's a Polish startup. We are in the mobility and transportation segment, and we are an analytics company. So we're using AI, big data, all this, fancy stuff to help companies make their vehicle fleets zero emissions. So basically what we do, we take the data of the company, how people are driving their cars, what are the transportation tasks, drivers, infrastructure, and we help them build a plan to introduce their zero emission transportation within the company. Because, we have all this Green Deal, climate change, climate problems, so we need to go into this green and zero emission solution. So in Poland, we talk about cars, right? Because we're not yet big fans of bikes or this kind of solution. So we basically work with the companies to help them introduce electric vehicles, also plan the charging infrastructure, because it's not so easy charging strategy, but it's also involving the energy transformation in the company. So we look holistically into that. And if the company decides to move into this zero emission transportation, we also help them manage that, right? So it's about optimizing, let's say, processes, but also cost, because the economic aspect is very, very important
to companies. Yes, indeed. And what specifically motivated you to go into, this climate, carbon emission saving type of business? What was the spur for this?
That's a good question. I love changing things. I love building things, but I want them to be impactful, right? So, I work in the corporate world for quite a long time, but I didn't feel like I have enough impact on the environment. Of course, maybe it's too idealistic as a small startup. You cannot change the world, but at least you can start
make little steps.
Connecting the dots, using the technologies, to help companies make a better world. It's not easy, because it's all about the money at the end of the day. But for me, I'm, as I say, energetic person. I love moving myself. So, this concept of mobility, transportation is very close to me. I love bikes. I love walking. I love also driving a car. And I love technology and analytics. So combining these two things, it's really great. So every day when I wake up, I really love, thinking about the stuff we're working on.
Oh, well, that's fantastic to hear that all these sort of different pieces of the puzzle came together, and VivaDrive was born from that different pieces.
Yeah, exactly.
But Matt, I mean, we do hear more and more about climate change issues and new technologies that are trying to help resolve this climate crisis, I suppose you could almost call it now that we experience.
I would call it like that.
But how much of it is media hype that, this is a sexy story at the moment, and how much as well are maybe investors putting, money this way because it's kind of, a FOMO syndrome, and how much you think actually is being done, genuinely to improve the situation, the climate crisis situation, and, how much of it is really real, and how much impact actually do you think, startups and technology can make to resolve this crisis?
I think a lot, but the situation is really difficult, I would say. I mean, if you look at what is happening all around the world, I mean, probably we are in a good still in a good position in Europe. But if you go and outside in Africa, South America, Asia, there's a lot of happening, floods, tornadoes, all kinds of drought problems. We don't see it, but it really happens, and it's not stopping, right? So you see it getting worse and worse year by year. So I wouldn't call it a sexy. I'd rather it's a difficult problem to solve. I'm a big fan, let's say, of regulations. People don't like it, but I think this is, in such a situation, regulation is one way to push people and companies and business and economy into doing something that it's needed to be done, right? Because the business about returns on investments. Everyone is looking at how much money you can make. The constant growth, which probably will have to completely change, right? I'm also economist. I did PhD in economics, so I was taught all this traditional economic theories. So it's about growth theory, and I think we'll have to rethink it, right?
Okay.
So it's technology might be useful, and there's a lot of solutions like ours that can help, but it's also changing a paradigm, right? How to make, let's say, not growing, but going in the circle, let's say, and recycling things, and you need to. I wouldn't say it's let's. Because when we talk with the customers, let's take the example of VivaDrive, right? We might say, okay, if we change the fossil fuel ICE cars, so traditional ones, with the electric, we solve the problem. Not, right? It's just replacing one car with another. We have to think how to change this paradigm. It's driving less, right? We discussed before about the hybrid work, right? This is one way to go. And you can go once a week to the office, and it already reduces the emissions. So it's important to work on different, let's say, parts of this problem. And we as startups, I think we push the businesses, the market, show them, it's always the startups who are first and sometimes doing crazy stuff, but trying, to show this is a real problem. And we can solve it. We can use the technology, we can use the AI, because you have the mobility startups like us. You have waste management startups. You have recycling startups like EcoBean about the coffee recycling. You have startups about the ESG reporting, right? So that's something that needs to be, that's happening right now, helping companies to make sure that they report the right things about their emissions and how they reduce it. So I think we're an important element of the ecosystem, and we should stay there. Investors, I'm not sure that whether they are so excited right now about this. I mean,
maybe
some of them
cautious.
They are cautious because it's not so easy. You see, this is about pushing customers to buy your products rather than customers come immediately and it's like e-commerce. They want to have something sexy. This is more difficult to sell. It's what I see with VivaDrive, for instance. We are growing with the regulations also, like with the market. So we see, okay, the companies need to reduce emissions totally by 2050. By 2035, there will be no ICE cars, so traditional cars sold, only electric, and so on. So for us, it's a very good situation because we can predict what's going to happen in the next, let's say, 20 years or something like that. But it's a slow growth, right? As an investor, very often you need to be aware of this stuff, that this is regulated. Like we also had a project in the US, but it was slowed down because of the Trump administration. Not the Trump administration, because the Trump is coming into power probably. And the market is not so open to do this green stuff. They don't want to talk about it. They would rather wait for November elections and see what goes, and whether we go green or we go a bit more darker. So of course there are risks related to that. So if the regulation changes, probably companies will step back and say, okay, let's do it cautiously, slowly. And it means that for those startups who are in this field, it might be slowing down instead of growing. So But I really appreciate those investors who still believe in us and try to help us change the world.
Yeah, well, indeed, and I can imagine how frustrating it must be to know that actually, many companies, I'm sure, aligned and in agreement with what, for example, this solution, you are proposing, the principles behind it. However, obviously the regulatory side may be something that causes them to actually hold back despite, so that must be a frustration. That's in a way you are looking, I mean, it's the same, of course, for so many businesses, but ultimately that you are looking at so many different factors that can impact on the successful further growth of VivaDrive.
Yes, because you have to be smart, right? So I see my friends in other green tech companies, and we look for different, let's say, strategies to survive and to grow, right? Some people have their own businesses, and on top of that, they do something cool in green tech and try to change the world. Some do some consulting with these solutions. We also have, let's say, this optimization solutions for fleets. This work for the traditional cars. And for instance, I think we're in a good position because we work in Poland with PZU, the largest financial company, and we started within this scope of the normal cars and trucks. So this emission solutions, but through collaboration, partnership with them, we convince them also to go into the EV to green solution, and they're supporting that. So finding a partner, and our strategy, in fact, is let's say, and business model is kind of innovative because we want to reach the market through partnerships with all larger companies. So for instance, PZU is like that because we could do it ourselves, but then we don't have the budgets like them. So teaming up with the larger partner who has a bigger portfolio of customers for us, it's a way to say, okay, we need to work longer to make sure to sign the contracts, but once the partnership is signed, then it's much easier for us to reach their portfolio of their companies. So that's the idea in Poland. We have now one partner, we want to have more, but now we are entering the French and the Belgian market, and we try to replicate this strategy as well. Let's say smaller steps, but the bigger impact at the end.
No, well, fantastic, and fingers crossed for those new market entries. Matt, VivaDrive aside, your journey. I know that previously you worked for various corporations, including ING, BNP Paribas. But what drew you into the decision, or whether it was a overnight decision, to actually have your own startup, your own business, rather than to stay within the corporate world?
So I spent 8 years working for international corporates, not in Poland. It was in Western Europe, because I lived abroad for quite a long time. And it was great, right? It's a lot of exposure. We also talked about it. International teams, a lot of work that was interesting, great projects. But I'm a mathematician, statistician, so it was very, let's say, for me, maybe not theoretical, because I managed to experience, for instance, the big 2007 and 2015 financial crisis. I was middle of that. I was managing credit portfolio, so I see all this shit that was happening there. And
a lot of challenges.
A lot of challenges, and I didn't feel like I'm part of this world. So I wanted to have an impact, positive impact on what is happening outside. I didn't want to participate in this, financial, let's say, game. You have all these films. I don't know, Big Short. I've been inside, so I've seen how bad it can be. And I always wanted to do something. So I had my previous. I did some business when I was young as well before I reached corporate. So I felt, okay, I want to do something more impactful. And I wanted to have more, let's say, decisive power about what I'm doing, because in corporate
you're a cog.
Exactly. Big budgets, but you cannot do what you want. So that's how I decided. It wasn't overnight. It took some months. My friend Maciek convinced me, no, let's do something else, and we started doing road safety solutions for motorcyclists. Which
Oh, wow.
a completely different world, but I said, yeah, I just want to do something completely different, and yeah, that's how it started. Sometimes it's difficult, but I enjoy every day of this journey.
And what about from a lifestyle perspective? How would you say, sort of your work-life balance, or, generally your lifestyle, if you were to make a comparison of, the lifestyle in the corporate and the lifestyle of a CEO of a startup?
Life balance, yeah.
It doesn't exist. I hope it does.
Difficult. No, I have a wife, I have kids, so it should exist, and it exists. But yeah, it's I think it's more. It's enjoyable. I mean, life and the challenges that you have. But very often it's difficult, to manage to run the company, because if you're in a corporate, normally you have your position, your job to do, and you can leave on Friday and stop thinking about it. And with your company, you always on it. Yeah, something is running in your mind. You think about it. But as I say, there's dopamine, there's a lot of happening. So yeah, I would love to have like a bit more balanced approach. Yeah, but as I say, I enjoy it. But yeah, my idea is to have more time also for the family. It's if this is possible, that would be great. But I know a lot of my friends are running startups, and it's not so easy. But again, you are decisive, so you can make certain decisions. You can a bit more flexible in certain situations.
Yeah, no, understood. And generally, you have been in the Polish startup ecosystem, one of the players for a number of years now. And how do you see that ecosystem evolving, since you've been part of that world? And what more do you think could be available to support founders like yourself and like many of your friends, to develop easily and better?
I'm not that long in the Polish startup ecosystem, maybe since 2018, because I was in the Western European startup ecosystem. So I have a comparison, and I have to say that it's very let's say dynamic. So there's a lot of people that want to do something. They want to try, take risk to do a small or large business, and this is, I think, great. So this is really appreciated, and it brings a lot of ideas, a lot of people gaining a lot of experience in this market. And it's also specific, let's say, situation that we're in. One of my friends was doing but that was in Belgium, a comparison why certain countries have more external innovation while some have internal innovation. So for instance, Poland and Italy is the most, let's say, on the side of the external innovation. So people really starting companies, doing a lot of businesses and so on. And for instance, Belgium is on the other side, a lot of internal innovation within the companies. Just because in Poland, this is the market situation, the companies are not that well managed, there's not much R&D. It was maybe 2016-17 study, so now maybe changed. But in Belgium, for instance, there is a lot of capital, a lot of R&D inside the company, so people, instead of taking their personal risk, because in fact running a company is also a personal risk, they rather stay in the company and do a lot inside the corporate innovation. And Poland, because of this market situation, we are trying ourselves. And this is, I think, this gives us a lot of advantage, because I see the way Polish startups are run, it's way more inventive than the Western European. What is missing is the capital. That's for sure a problem. So when I was let's put it like that. So if you're early stage, seed, pre-seed, then you probably don't have a problem. There's a lot of let's say government help, like scale-up programs, early stage VCs investing. So there is no problem to turn your idea into early stage startup and get some funding. But then scaling up and then competing with, I don't know, French, German, US startup is very difficult because you have a way less money, resources, but you still pay the same money. I talked some months ago with I think the Spanish VC, and they told me, we discussed about investment strategy, and say in Central Europe we give half the money that we give in the Western Europe, and they say why? Well, because your wages are less, you are more inventive, you can do more with less money. And I say, but my IT guy costs the same as your IT guy or the German one. So we need to prove still ourselves. So it's this later stage help is very very important. What I see also, and it's also building up in Poland, is help from let's say people that live in other countries, Poles, right?
Okay.
So it's called Polonia, right?
Yes.
We talk also in the US, in the UK. There is a lot of Polish people living there, also entrepreneurs. I think we should use the power of this community to get to the market, because I see how it is. I lived in Belgium for quite some, and I saw we were part of the economic missions to the UK when we were bringing British insurance companies to Belgium after Brexit, or when we were in the US. You see all these Belgians, gathering together, trying to help, and I think there's a power in working together, in supporting ourselves.
Certainly.
So I think it's important that that there's more initiatives, collaborations, because we can use it. We have to again be inventive with less money.
Certainly, that makes absolute sense. To really use the power of the Polish community across the globe, actually, to further and support. Bringing those technologies and innovations to the markets.
Exactly. So when I go into the, let's say, French, Belgian market, I always try to look for Polish people working for a certain company.
Okay,
where I
good
can
strategy.
get it, because this is the way to. It's already there is a cultural fit immediately. You don't have to see, you can talk openly or not, or have to be diplomatic. If you say something, they got mad at you and so on. You can go straight to the pole and discuss it. But I would say the ecosystem is great. It's a lot of very gifted people, but I think it's still, we all complain about the access to the money and competing with the global players.
Certainly a big issue, Matt. But for your future plans. Okay, you said you are now doing these new market entries, but in general for the next, let's say, 5 years, where do you aim for VivaDrive to go? And indeed, what are your plans for you yourself? Whether you're going to attempt to get that work-life balance in a better shape, or what does the future hold?
For VivaDrive, we're gonna grow, right? That's we have investors on board, so we have to grow, but we also want to grow. We see a lot of opportunities thanks to the Green Deal, all these clean tech initiatives. So now we are entering French and Belgian market. We hope to enter other European markets, also US, depending who is ruling next year, whether it makes sense or not. But basically, we would like to be seen by the market as their main, let's say, solution to make their transportation green. So that's the perception. Myself, given that there is a VC on board, will be exiting at some point. So that's I love my job, but I think we would like to grow it. We would like to, be acquired by some bigger partner, or went to the, New Connect, this kind of approach. I would love to at some point also try something else. So we will see. For the next years, I would like to for sure grow my team such that, I can be responsible only for strategic aspects of the business, because that could be very useful for the company, and get better experts than myself that run the business on the daily basis, and I can do strategic decisions, and that should probably give me more work-life balance that I hope for, and yeah, I can do travel more a bit, not only business travels, normal travels as well.
Well, I keep my fingers very crossed, both for the further success of VivaDrive, and that I hope will become a global household name in the years to come.
Thank you.
And of course, I very much wish you all the best. I'm very excited to see what possible projects you will have in the future. But of course, I hope that you manage to also find more time for your family in the meantime.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for the invitation.
And thank you to our listeners. And join us next time for Startup with Poland.